Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here again taking some really complex, high-stakes source material and trying to distill it down into the sharpest, most actionable insights we can find, just for you.
That's the plan. And today our mission is, well, it's really focused squarely on communication power, isn't it?
Absolutely. We're diving into this collection of executive conversations, real-world stuff, the kind that really defines strategic business fluency.
Yeah, think of these sources as like the ultimate cheat sheet for mastering advanced business English.
But not just grammar, but
Oh, definitely not just grammar. It's about strategic action. We're
yeah,
looking at the precise language leaders use when the stakes are, highest.
like addressing project failure or...
Or negotiating complex deals, pivoting to new tech, all that high pressure stuff.
And the goal here isn't just passive understanding. We want you to be able to actively replicate this.
Exactly. How do you pivot from saying, oops, we messed up, to outlining a solution, basically in the same breath?
Yeah, or how do you use those acronyms, those numbers, to
Right.
just instantly signal competence?
We're trying to absorb the structural blueprint, you could say, of this kind of high-stakes communication
Preparing you to go from just being conversationally fluent.
to being strategically decisive. That's the leap.
These sources really show that mastery, it lies in the specifics, doesn't it?
It really does. It's about moving beyond just, oh, things are okay, to actually quantifying that okayness.
Like that example. We're within budget, but...
But there's only a 5% buffer remaining. See? That specificity changes everything.
Okay, so we've organized this toolkit, I guess, into 4 key domains.
Yeah, 4 critical areas. First, project and operations, the execution side.
Yeah?
Then strategic negotiation and finance, the art of the deal stuff.
Okay.
Third is internal efficiency and talent, managing the engine inside.
And finally.
Crisis and future vision, handling the tough times and looking ahead.
All right, let's jump right into segment 1 then. The language of status, execution, and mitigation.
This is often, the first real test of leadership.
What happens when things go wrong? Like the Wilson Project example in our sources, it's running slightly behind schedule.
Yeah, this scenario is perfect because it shows that immediate pivot you need to make.
So the question comes in, walk me through the current status.
And the response. It has to lead with the solution, not dwell on the problem. The phrasing we see is something like, certainly we're tracking slightly behind schedule, but...
It's always a but.
But we've implemented mitigation measures to catch up. See? Acknowledge the issue, but immediately show action.
That opening move, it totally changes the listener's perspective, doesn't it? You're not just reporting a failure.
You're reporting mitigation efforts. Then, okay, you do have to explain why you're behind.
And they pinpoint it. The vendor's delayed delivery of key components. Why is being that specific so important?
Well, it removes ambiguity, for one. It stops internal finger-pointing,
Ah, right.
When you say it's a vendor issue, the focus shifts externally. That's usually easier to manage than, say, admitting your internal team dropped the ball.
Makes sense.
But what really elevates this response, what makes it truly strategic, is the contingency planning that follows immediately.
They don't just complain about the vendor.
No, they say, look, I've already shortlisted 3 potential backup vendors as contingency.
As contingency, that phrase just screams foresight, doesn't it?
It's gold, like you said. It shows you were already thinking ahead.
Okay, let's talk money, though. The speaker notes they're still within our allocated budget. Sounds good.
Right. Seems positive.
But then they immediately add that caveat. But there's only a 5% buffer remaining. Why mention that tiny buffer right then, even if they're not over budget yet?
Because high-level communication is all about managing risk and setting expectations. It's crucial.
If you wait until it's gone.
Exactly. If you wait until you've burned through that 5% and then ask for more money, it just looks like poor planning. You look unprepared.
So stating it now.
Stating the narrow margin now preemptively manages how that risk is perceived. It signals implicitly, look, the margin for error here is razor thin, cost control is paramount.
And that's why they need that comprehensive cost analysis report.
Precisely. You need the data to back it up.
And then there's the client. They're understandably concerned. How is that handled?
The key is proactive management, not avoidance. The phrase used is, I've been maintaining transparent communication with them.
Transparent communication. That's foundational these days, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a promise, openness, even when the news isn't great. It builds trust.
Okay, so problem acknowledged, mitigation started, finances flagged, client managed. What's next?
The conversation has to end with measurable action, a clear path forward.
Right. So how do they make up the lost time?
They commit to a precise window, 3 weeks. And they state how, using overtime and allocating additional resources.
And they even name those resources.
Yep, 2 more temporary team members. You see the whole arc there. Problem identified, root cause found, risk quantified, mitigation detailed, resources allocated. Boom.
That's incredibly efficient communication. Strategic.
That's the goal.
Okay, let's pivot then. From project delays to product development. The new product line scenario. Final phase of prototype testing.
Right. Here the challenge shifts a bit, from timelines more towards costs.
But it opens positively, right? The product exceeds performance targets.
That's the lead. You always lead with the success if you can. Smart move.
But then comes the trade-off. They're slightly over the target cost.
And the source material is clear. This isn't just waste. It's framed as a consequence of a strategic choice.
Ah, the premium materials were required to achieve the desired durability standards.
Exactly. Leading to the cost overrun. So the extra cost isn't framed as a mistake. It's positioned as an investment in quality, a conscious decision.
So the immediate mitigation strategy has to sort of justify that investment, but also work on the cost.
Precisely. And they're already on it. The engineers are exploring alternatives to cut costs by a specific target, 12%.
That's very focused, measurable.
It has to be. But the biggest leverage they have here, it comes from the market validation data.
The focus group feedback.
Absolutely. It was overwhelmingly positive with a 92% satisfaction rate.
Wow, 92%. That's huge.
It's the shield, basically. It protects the development team from immediate, drastic budget cuts. It tells the higher-ups, look, this product is a winner, people love it, just give us a little time to optimize the cost without sacrificing that durability they value.
And then they wrap it up confidently.
Next steps. Transitioning to manufacturing within 6 weeks and projecting really aggressive but quantifiable revenue. First-year sales of 50,000 units.
That precision again, it makes them sound completely in control even with the cost issue.
Precision builds confidence every time.
Okay, so from a single product to a massive system rollout, the CRM implementation.
Right. Now the focus shifts again. This is about implementation management, change management, and anticipating risks across the whole organization. Big picture stuff.
The project's defined by a phased rollout plan spanning the next quarter. So they're managing expectations up front about the timeline. It's gradual.
Smart. And the status update. Successfully transferred 60% of customer data. Quantifiable progress.
But there's a challenge. Integration challenges with legacy systems. Why use that specific term, legacy systems? What does that signal?
It's strategic phrasing. It places the difficulty squarely on the old infrastructure, which everyone knows is inherently hard to work with, rather than blaming the new CRM system itself or the team doing the rollout.
Ah, clever. Defines the hurdle in a less threatening way.
Exactly. But maybe the most crucial part of this discussion is how they manage the human element, the people side.
Agreed. They don't pretend the training, even department-specific workshops, will be some magic bullet.
No, they're realistic. They actually anticipate a 15% temporary decrease in productivity during that first month of transition.
As a leader listening to that, why is it so important they state that expected dip up front?
It inoculates the executive team against panic later on. Forewarned is forearmed, right?
Right. If you surprise them a month in with a 15% drop.
They might pull the plug. But if you set it up front, clearly, as part of the plan, they accept it as the temporary cost of transition. The pain becomes predictable, manageable.
And success isn't just, is the system on?
Ah.
They define it by tracking specific metrics.
3 key things: adoption rates, processing times, and customer satisfaction. You need those leading and lagging indicators to know if it's truly working.
And of course, security. Can't forget that with customer data.
Absolutely not. And the language has to reflect robustness and compliance. We see the requirements clearly stated: multi-factor authentication, encryption protocols,
And automated daily backups with redundant cloud storage. Using those specific terms signals they're taking modern security threats seriously.
rigorously.
It's the difference between saying, yeah, we've got good security, and demonstrating we are compliant and robust. Big difference when you're talking about potentially thousands or millions of customer records.
That focus on precise language brings us nicely into segment 2, the art of the deal. Strategic negotiation and financial due diligence. Ah, yes. This section really requires a specific, sophisticated vocabulary. It goes way beyond general business chat.
Okay, take the contract negotiation example. It starts with payment terms.
Right. And notice how they frame the request. Instead of just asking for more time to pay, They frame it strategically.
They want to better align with cash flow needs.
These is here in the extension to net 60 days. See? It makes their request sound fiscally responsible, prudent, not like they're just short on cash.
It's all in the framing. Okay, so what's net 60? And then there's the counteroffer.
Good question. Net 60 just means the full invoice amount is due 60 days after the invoice date. Standard term.
And the counteroffer. They don't just say no.
No, the supplier comes back with a compromise that actually benefits them slightly. They say, okay, we could consider net 45.
So due in 45 days instead of 60. Faster payment for the supplier.
Exactly, with a 2% early payment discount, and that's the hook.
So explain that 2% discount. Why is that powerful?
It's leverage. If the buyer pays 15 days faster, meeting that net 45 deadline, they get to knock 2% off the total invoice price.
Okay.
It's an incentive. It makes the buyer feel like they've won a concession, a discount, while the seller gets their cash 2 weeks sooner. It's classic, sophisticated negotiation language. Win-win, sort of.
Then the conversation pivots. Away from price towards value and assurance.
They bring in the service level agreement, the SLA.
Okay, let's define that for listeners. An SLA is basically...
It's a contract, essentially. It outlines the minimum acceptable level of service the provider guarantees. It often includes really specific performance metrics, uptime, response time, whatever's relevant.
And penalties if they fail.
Oh, yeah. Penalties are key. It gives the agreement teeth. The SLA fundamentally mitigates the buyer's risk. It provides assurance.
And they don't stop there. They sweeten the deal further.
Right, they bundle things. A 12-month maintenance package covering updates, priority support, quarterly reviews.
Plus training.
Comprehensive on-site training for up to 15 employees. This is a crucial tactic. When you get stuck on price in a negotiation, the strategic move is often to increase the perceived value by adding these non-monetary extras.
Makes the overall package look much more attractive without necessarily lowering the core price.
Exactly, value stacking.
Okay, shifting from contracts to something much bigger. Mergers and acquisitions. The Thompson Acquisition Due Diligence Report.
Right. This is where the financial language gets really serious. Precision is everything.
The assessment starts positively, notes strong growth in EBITDA, but then pairs it immediately with a warning concerning debt obligations.
Okay, let's unpack EBITDA first. It comes up constantly in M&A.
Please do.
Sure. EBITDA stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. It's basically a measure of a company's pure operational profitability or cash flow before factoring in things like financing decisions, accounting practices, or tax environment.
So why use that specific term here?
Using EBITDA signals, you're looking past the company's capital structure, past their tax situation, to see how efficient and profitable their core business actually is.
Okay.
So, seeing strong growth in EBITDA, that's great news about the underlying business. But pairing it immediately with concerning debt obligations shows a balanced, rigorous financial review. You're highlighting the potential, but also flagging the immediate financial risk from their existing loans. It's realistic.
Strategically, why is this Thompson acquisition attractive?
Market share. It grants a significant 35% market share in the Southeast region. That's a major strategic prize.
And they quantify the expected benefit, the synergy.
Yes, $5 million in cost savings through consolidated operations. That specific number is what helps drive the deal rationale forward. It makes the benefit tangible.
But due diligence isn't just about the good stuff. It has to identify the hurdles.
Absolutely. And the regulatory challenge here is incredibly specific, needing approval from antitrust authorities in 3 jurisdictions.
Naming the number of jurisdictions matters.
It signals the complexity. It's not just one approval, it's navigating multiple legal systems.
Yeah.
Big difference in effort and risk.
And they also address the soft factor, which can often kill deals. Culture.
They recommend a gradual cultural integration approach over 18 months. This is vital. It acknowledges that smashing 2 different company cultures together quickly is a classic, maybe the top reason M&A deals ultimately fail to deliver value.
So planning for that integration carefully is key.
Crucial. And finally, the valuation itself. It's not presented as a single hard number.
No, it's a range, $80 to $85 million.
And critically, it's justified by comparable transactions. This shows they've done their homework, looked at what similar companies sold for.
So it's a confident stance, but leaves room to negotiate.
Precisely. It's the difference between making a demand and proposing a defensible valuation range based on market data. Much more professional, much more likely to lead to a productive negotiation.
All right, that covers the deal-making language. Let's move into segment 3. This is about proactive growth, planning, and market expansion.
Okay. How does high-stakes communication structure strategy based on actual data and trends?
Starting with the Q4 strategy session, the analysis points to a key market trend.
Yes, a growing demand for sustainable products in the B2B sector. That insight becomes the foundation.
So all subsequent proposals need to align with capturing that specific demand.
Ideally, yes. That becomes the strategic filter for evaluating ideas.
Now, when they address the competitive analysis, how do they handle pricing? They admit they're more expensive.
They do. They state they're priced 5 to 10% higher, but watch the immediate pivot.
They justify it with superior quality and service.
Exactly. They turn a potential weakness, higher price, directly into a value proposition. Yes, we cost more because we deliver more value.
And they have proof they can command that premium.
They do, and it comes straight from their digital marketing metrics. They cite LinkedIn campaigns showing a massive 200% ROI increase.
Wow, that's compelling data.
Absolutely. That quantifiable success is what gives them the confidence to then propose leveraging their existing customer base.
Through a referral program with attractive incentives.
Great. And that, in turn, justifies the ask for more resources, a 25% expansion of the digital marketing budget. You see the chain.
Data leads to strategy. Strategy leads to action. Action requires budget. Budget justified by prior data.
It's a seamless, quantifiable chain of justification. Very persuasive.
Okay, next up, budgeting and fiscal year planning. This review is fascinating because it forces leaders to communicate rising costs, which is never easy.
No, it's tough. The source shows a 15% increase in operational costs, but notice how it's attributed.
To external factors, rising raw material prices and new compliance requirements.
Exactly. Attributing cost increases to external forces, things largely outside the team's direct control, like inflation or new regulations, helps shield the internal operations team from undue scrutiny or blame.
It frames it as adapting to the environment, not internal inefficiency.
Precisely. And they immediately follow up with mitigation strategies, implementing automated workflows and consolidating vendors.
Specific, actionable cost-saving measures.
Right. They balance the unavoidable cost increase with proactive efficiency drives.
But the budget isn't just about cutting or controlling costs, is it? It's also about enabling growth.
Definitely. They explicitly confirm the budget accommodates a targeted 20% expansion while maintaining healthy margins. Growth and control hand in hand.
And addressing financial uncertainty, market fluctuations.
This is where sophisticated risk mitigation comes in. They build in a 10% contingency fund, just in case.
A safety net.
And they plan to run sensitivity analyses for worst-case scenarios. Now, that term, sensitivity analysis, what does that communicate to stakeholders?
This sounds very thorough. Prepared.
That's exactly it. A sensitivity analysis is basically a financial model where you test how changes in key assumptions, like what if raw material prices spike another 20%, or what if market demand drops 10%, would impact your bottom line.
So it shows you're thinking about the what-ifs.
Exactly. Stating you run these analyses proves you're actively stress testing your plan and preparing for volatility. It transforms vague fear of the unknown into predictable, quantifiable risks you can plan around.
Very strategic. Okay, final item in this segment. International expansion strategy.
Right. How does a business methodically approach targeting new geographic markets?
The source material highlights prioritizing a specific market, Singapore.
Yes, offering the most favorable business environment for initial entry. That justification is key.
Why Singapore typically?
It's often chosen as an initial anchor in Asia due to its stable political environment, strong legal framework, skilled workforce, and general ease of doing business. It's seen as a relatively lower risk entry point.
But strategy isn't just picking a spot on the map.
Oh, absolutely not. It's about execution. The source emphasizes the localization strategy,
Adapting marketing, product packaging.
and staffing, needing bilingual staff and translation services. This shows they understand it's not just copy-pasting the domestic model. You need a holistic approach to market entry.
And the financials.
Defined precisely. A preliminary budget estimate of $2.5 million for the first year. Concrete number.
And they explicitly name the primary risks. Why is that so important in this planning document?
The risks named are currency fluctuations and intellectual property protection. Naming them is essential because it effectively delegates responsibility for mitigation.
How so?
Well, as soon as you officially name currency fluctuations as a risk, the finance team is on the hook to develop hedging strategies. name IP protection, and the legal team knows they need to get patents filed, trademarks registered, protection protocols in place for that specific market.
So naming the risks triggers the necessary downstream actions.
Exactly. It ensures those mitigation plans get built into the execution from day one.
Okay, that's a great insight. Now let's shift gears completely. Segment 4 is looking inward. Internal efficiency, people, and wellness.
Right, the engine that drives all those external strategies we just discussed.
Let's start with the performance review scenario. It's a good template for framing achievements and goals.
Definitely. Notice how the achievement is highlighted. It's defined by measurable output.
Successfully launching the automated reporting system, saving 20 hours weekly.
See, no one really cares about generic praise like good work. They care about quantifiable efficiency gains. How much time did you save? How much cost did you cut? That's the language that resonates.
And the area for improvement, also specific.
Enhancing project management skills, and even more specifically, resource allocation. Targeted.
And the action plan isn't vague like, get better at projects.
No, it's concrete. Enrolling in a PMP certification course.
Let's clarify PMP for the listener.
Good idea. PMP stands for Project Management Professional. It's a globally recognized credential, basically verifies a high level of competency in planning, executing, and closing projects. Getting certified is a tangible step.
And the request for support from management, how is that framed?
It's framed around future contribution, not just personal gain. The employee asks for more opportunities to lead cross-functional projects with the explicit goal of increasing team productivity by 15% through process optimization.
So they're not just asking for a promotion or a raise.
No, they're asking for development opportunities linked directly to a measurable future business benefit. Highly professional way to ask for growth.
Okay, moving to the challenges of modern work. Remote collaboration and time zones.
Very relevant today. The source addresses both the tech hurdles and the communication strategies needed.
Technical issues like connectivity are solved with a new VPN solution. Seems straightforward.
But the time zone differences require managing workflow, establishing overlapping work hours for real-time collaboration when needed.
And using asynchronous communication tools. Let's define that term, asynchronous.
Sure. Asynchronous communication basically means sending messages or updates without the expectation of an immediate real-time response. Think email, project management updates, shared documents.
Allows people in different time zones to contribute effectively without having to be on calls at crazy hours.
Exactly. It's key for global teams. But what's really interesting is what the source identifies as the biggest hurdle.
Not time zones.
Surprisingly, no. It's document version control. Just making sure everyone is working on the latest draft.
Huh. Yes,
No.
that can be a nightmare.
It leads them to explore advanced file sharing solutions. Why does something seemingly mundane like version control rise to the executive level?
Good question. Seems tactical.
Because if you have 5 key people across 3 continents working on, say, a critical M&A proposal, and one of them spends half a day editing an outdated version, the cost of that mistake, in lost time, or worse, a catastrophic error in the final document, it can easily dwarf the cost of a project delay.
Wow. So the mundane process flow can actually become the biggest strategic bottleneck in a complex, high-tech environment.
Precisely. Sometimes the simplest things cause the biggest problem.
Okay, next. Logistics and supply chain optimization. This discussion sounds intensely quantitative.
It has to be. The proposed solutions are big moves. Consolidating warehouses, implementing AI-driven inventory management, serious stuff.
And this requires significant investment, so it needs strong justification.
Absolutely. Which comes from the quantified impact. They project reducing delivery times by a huge margin, 30%, achieved by optimizing routes.
And the financial case.
It's ready. An initial investment of $2 million, but with an expected payback period of just 18 months.
18 months is very fast for that kind of outlay. Makes it attractive.
Extremely. That short payback period is often what gets these major investments approved.
And crucially, they address the impact on people, the workforce.
Yes, very important. They confirm that while some retraining will be required for the new systems and processes,
No layoffs are planned.
that communication is absolutely essential. It reduces internal uncertainty, prevents fear, and helps retain key staff during a period of major technological change. You have to manage the human side of automation.
Okay, last one in this internal segment. Employee benefits and wellness.
This is an area that's shifted dramatically. It's no longer just a soft HR topic. It's a core strategic retention and recruitment tool.
The source mentions benchmarking against industry standards, revealed some gaps.
Yeah, lagging specifically in parental leave and mental health support. Those are big ones today.
So how is the proposed investment justified? It costs money.
It's justified by the expected return on investment, just like any other business case. A 12% increase in the benefits budget they calculate would put them above the industry average.
Making them more competitive for talent.
Exactly. And they quantify that benefit. The enhanced package is expected to reduce time to hire by 20%.
That's a hard HR metric. Faster hiring saves money and gets projects staffed quicker.
Precisely. It validates the investment in business terms.
And the wellness initiatives, virtual fitness, mental health resources, they're not just perks.
No, they're framed with a measurable productivity benefit. They project a 20% reduction in absenteeism.
Wow. So investing in employee wellness directly impacts operational output and attendance.
That's the argument. And it's increasingly backed by data. Healthy, supported employees are more present and more productive.
Okay, we are now entering the high-pressure zone. Segment 5. Crisis, risk, and compliance communication.
Deep breaths. This is where strategic precision under fire is absolutely non-negotiable. Language matters immensely here.
Let's take the system outage crisis management scenario. A classic nightmare.
It's a textbook example of how procedural communication should work in a crisis. What's the immediate action?
Activating the emergency response protocol. Following the plan.
Step 1. Then, quantify the impact immediately. 2,000 users are affected. Define the scope.
And the status update needs clarity.
Right. IT has identified the root cause and critically provides a timeline. Full service restoration estimated within 4 hours.
That timeline is key, even if it's an estimate.
It manages expectations. You lead with what you know, who's affected, and the best estimate for resolution. Clarity and calm.
And the communication strategy isn't just internal, is it?
No way. It has to be formal and structured externally, too. Sending hourly updates to keep stakeholders informed. Engaging the PR team immediately to draft a comprehensive statement for media inquiries.
You have to control the narrative externally.
Absolutely. And after the fire is out, what's the required step?
The post-incident analysis report to document lessons learned.
Bingo. Why is that documentation so vital? It feels bureaucratic sometimes.
Because you don't want it to happen again for the same reason.
Exactly. A crisis shouldn't happen twice the same way. That report forces the organization to formally document the entire event. The timeline, the root cause, the steps taken, what worked, what didn't, and most importantly, the preventative measures put in place.
It turns a painful failure into a codified procedure for improvement.
That's the goal, learning from failure.
Okay, shifting to quality control and compliance. This relies heavily on regulatory language.
It does. Following an audit, the source mentions deficiencies were found, documentation inconsistencies, and insufficient testing protocols.
Leaving the organization below ISO requirements. That sounds serious.
It is serious. Stating you're below ISO requirements, ISO being the International Organization for Standardization, is basically admitting a significant operational or quality liability. It demands immediate, decisive action.
And the solution is comprehensive and costly.
Yes. Implementing automated testing systems, standardizing documentation, a major overhaul. The cost is specified, approximately $750,000.
And they acknowledge a downside.
They're realistic. They state there will be an initial 10% slowdown in production timelines as these new processes bed in.
But they justify it with long-term gains.
Right. Long-term efficiency improvements and, crucially, achieving compliance. Sometimes you have to accept short-term pain for long-term health and risk reduction.
Okay, our final compliance item, data protection. This is huge today.
Especially when you're handling sensitive data for, in this case, 50,000 customers, the stakes are high.
The compliance gaps identified are specific regulations.
Yes, needing updates to meet GDPR and CCPA requirements. We should probably clarify those too.
Good idea. GDPR.
That's the General Data Protection Regulation. It's the EU's very strict framework governing how personal data must be protected and managed. It has global reach if you handle data of EU residents.
And CCPA.
That's the California Consumer Privacy Act. It gives California residents significant control over their personal information collected by businesses. Similar principles, different jurisdiction.
So naming these specific regulations signals you're operating at that global highly regulated level of data privacy.
Precisely. It shows awareness and intent to comply with major legal frameworks.
And the safeguards proposed cover both tech and people.
Yes, technical measures like end-to-end encryption and access controls, and human measures like mandatory quarterly privacy awareness sessions for staff. Compliance requires both robust technology and continuous staff education. Can't have one without the other. And again, quantifiable commitment. Timeline is 6 months, cost is approximately $300,000, specific investment against a clear regulatory deadline.
Okay, we've covered crises and compliance. Let's wrap up with segment 6, the language of the future. Frontier technology and sustainability investment.
Right. This requires communication focused on long-term vision, often involving higher risk but potentially higher reward endeavors.
The innovation and R&D strategy discussion, how do they prioritize?
They prioritize two key areas seen as having major future potential: AI integration and blockchain solutions, focusing resources.
And they're not just waiting for ideas to bubble up.
No, they're actively fostering innovation internally, running an employee innovation challenge with rewards, trying to cultivate that culture.
But how do you measure success for R&D, for blue sky thinking? The metrics must be different.
They are. They track things like innovation ROI, though that can be tricky to calculate early on, patent applications, a tangible output, and time to market for new ideas. It's about creating accountability for concepts that might not even generate revenue for years.
Okay, what about accelerating AI and automation adoption specifically?
Here, prioritization is key. Focus on applications with clear near-term business value. The examples given are customer service automation and predictive maintenance. Practical stuff.
And they acknowledge the human factor.
Critically important, they anticipate a learning curve requiring 3 months of training and adaptation for staff. You have to state that adaptation period up front.
And they project positive ROI within 18 months, a clear financial target.
Always need that ROI projection, but the scale of automation ambition is striking.
They mention current levels, 40% manufacturing, 25% in logistics.
And the target, 80% automation in warehouse operations. That's huge.
With a projected productivity gain that's staggering. 200% increase in output within 18 months.
Numbers like that are what get those multi-million-dollar technology investments signed off, bold targets backed by a business case.
Okay, shifting to sustainability and ESG initiatives, what's the driver here?
The source is explicit. It's responding to shareholder demands. External pressure is a key motivator for ESG action.
And this drives focus on specific improvement areas.
Yes, like environmental impact reporting and diversity metrics, areas under scrutiny.
The response involves setting up formal structures.
Right. Establishing a dedicated sustainability committee and diversity task force. Showing organizational commitment. There's even talk of seeking B Corp certification within 12 months.
B Corp being a certification for social and environmental performance.
Exactly. A recognized external validation.
And there's a specific carbon neutrality goal.
For the corporate HQ, yes. Carbon neutral by 2025. A concrete, measurable deadline.
They know where their emissions come from.
They've identified the main sources: manufacturing facilities and transportation, 80%. You need that data to target reductions effectively.
The strategy involves
Specific actions: renewable energy adoption, solar wind, with a goal of reducing emissions by 60% within 3 years.
And crucially, this isn't just framed as an ethical imperative. There's a financial justification.
Yes, a projected 15% cost savings within 3 years from energy efficiency and potentially other benefits. Connecting ESG to the bottom line helps secure investment.
Finally, the really cutting-edge stuff. Next generation tech exploration. Quantum computing.
Right. Future gazing, but with strategic intent. They prioritize specific potential applications: drug discovery and complex financial modeling, areas where quantum might offer breakthroughs.
The investment is significant.
$10 million for initial infrastructure and talent. Big bet. But here's the really interesting strategic language.
What's that?
They are immediately implementing post-quantum cryptography protocols.
Okay, that sounds highly technical and very forward-looking. What does post-quantum cryptography actually mean in a strategic sense? Why mention it now?
It means they're preparing their data security for a future where today's standard encryption methods, the ones protecting everything from bank details to state secrets, could theoretically be broken by powerful quantum computers.
So they're future-proofing their security.
Exactly. By implementing post-quantum protocols now, years before the threat might fully materialize, They're demonstrating to stakeholders, regulators, and customers that they are leaders in long-term data security. It's about managing future risk today. They expect viable quantum use cases within 24 months.
That's a powerful signal. And lastly, the metaverse presence.
This seems more exploratory. It's purely strategic positioning and demographic targeting, aiming for Gen Z and young millennials.
And the content focus.
Interactive experiences and virtual product demonstrations, using the medium for what it's potentially good at.
The investment recommendation reflects that exploratory approach.
Yes, it's relatively modest. A $500,000 pilot project to launch a virtual showroom within 4 months. It's a low-risk way to dip a toe in the water, learn and explore a high-potential but still uncertain new medium.
Wow. Okay, that entire journey, from a simple project delay all the way to quantum computing and the metaverse,
Yeah.
it really showcases the immense variety, but also the specificity needed in strategic communication.
It really does. But there's a common thread, isn't there? A structure.
Seems like it. Always quantify.
Quantify the problem, quantify the risk, quantify the impact, and quantify the proposed solution. And always include clear timelines and resource allocation. That structure repeats itself.
So we've seen that true professional mastery of business English, it really isn't just about, general conversation or fluency.
Not at this level. It's about being able to deploy specific terms like Net 45, EBITDA, mitigation measures, asynchronous communication, post-quantum cryptography protocol.
Using them at the exact right strategic moment.
Exactly. That specificity, that precision is the difference between sounding like you're just reporting information.
And sounding like you're actually controlling the strategic direction, like you're leading.
These sources, they essentially provide the script, the blueprint, for sounding well-informed and decisive across pretty much every functional domain of a major business.
And by mastering that underlying structure, status, impact, mitigation, next steps, you're fundamentally upgrading your communication.
You're moving from being descriptive to being prescriptive.
Right.
From reporting to leading.
So as a final takeaway for you, the listener, for your own mastery, here's a challenge.
Go back through this deep dive, maybe listen again, and identify 3 specific strategic phrases.
Phrases like implement mitigation measures, or provide a comprehensive cost analysis report, or maybe achieve full compliance within 6 months.
And the challenge is to consciously try and integrate those phrases or similar structured, specific language into your own professional meetings over the next week or so.
Even if the core topic is different, just practice using that structure, that level of precision.
See how it changes the dynamic. See if it helps you sound more informed, more strategic, and ultimately more decisive.
Give it a try. That's all for this deep dive.
Until next time.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're doing a deep dive into something, well, way more valuable than just a polished resume. We're talking about the strategic communication, the blueprint, really, of a successful job interview. Forget the generic advice, the small talk. We're actually dissecting dialogue structures that turn a standard conversation into a compelling business case for hiring you.
Exactly. It's about taking control of the narrative.
Our source material today is pretty fascinating. It's a set of exchanges, basically a comprehensive guide on professional job interview mechanics, often used to help candidates, especially those working on their business English, structure things to, and this is a quote, grab their ideal career. We're focusing specifically on the back and forth between a candidate, Miss Mary, and the interviewer, Mr. Tom. And our mission here, it's to pull out those highest leverage questions, but maybe more importantly, the patterns in the expert responses, the ones that consistently scream competence, leadership, and real alignment with what the company actually needs.
Yeah, it's not just what to say, is it?
No, it's strategic dominance, essentially.
And what jumps out immediately when you look at these dialogues is that this candidate, Miss Mary, she's achieved, well, a mastery over narrative control. It's quite impressive. She never lets the conversation drift into those vague, sort of wishy-washy generalizations.
Right.
Instead, she's constantly using specific, quantified examples, the real heart of an effective behavioral interview. And she smoothly links her past experience directly to how she'll contribute in the future for this organization.
So we're going beyond just language practice here.
Oh, definitely. We're analyzing strategic communication at its peak, really. Observing how she turns what could be just rote language practice into, well, a compelling investment pitch for herself.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning, the foundation, where every, high-stakes professional chat begins.
Yeah.
Mr. Tom kicks things off with that standard opener. Can you tell me a little about yourself and your professional background? Seems simple, right?
Deceptively simple.
Yeah, but it's often where candidates kind of stumble. They're either too brief or they just wander off aimlessly.
Exactly. And the successful response structure Miss Mary uses, it's all about establishing immediate, undeniable credibility and context. And she does this by quantifying her foundation right away, within the first minute. It's a critical technique, really, for anyone learning how to communicate their professional experience effectively, especially in a business English context.
How does she quantify?
Well, she immediately lists specific academic qualifications, a degree in business administration or maybe a master's in business management from a recognizable place like XYZ University. But crucially, she pairs that academic side with measurable, committed professional time, longevity.
That professional longevity piece feels really key. She doesn't just say, oh, I'm experienced.
No, never vague. She uses clear data points, over 5 years of experience in project management, or maybe a decade in the tech industry as a senior analyst.
Using those specific numbers.
Yeah.
It signals confidence, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And probably minimizes the perceived risk for the interviewer.
Absolutely. Quantification, it's like a universal business language. It shows she's committed not just to a specific role, but to seeing projects through over a sustained period. And this naturally leads into the next, often underestimated hurdle, alignment. Mr. Tom asks, what attracted you to our company?
The why-us question.
Mm,
This is definitely a test of preparation. And sincerity, too.
totally. If the answer is just vague, I need a job, or I heard the pay is good,
Instant fail.
pretty much. Miss Mary's strategic responses here, they're clearly designed to show she's done her homework and that her values actually sync up with the company's. And the real power in her answer is how she connects the company to her internal drive. She never makes it just about what the company can do for her.
Good point.
Instead, she highlights the company's attractive qualities that align with her own values or her professional growth path. For example, she specifically mentions being impressed by the company's commitment to sustainability and innovation.
And that's not just a random compliment.
Not at all. It connects the company's public mission directly to her potential personal ethics or maybe her desire to work on cutting-edge stuff. It shows she's thought about it.
And we see this pattern repeat in other dialogue examples, right?
Yeah.
Which tells us it's a deliberate strategy.
Yes. In another exchange, she mentions the innovative projects and the collaborative culture. And in yet another, she highlights the reputation for innovation and employee development.
Mentioning employee development seems particularly smart.
It is. It subtly signals she views this job as a potential partnership, for mutual long-term growth, not just a quick gig. She's basically communicating, look, I've done my research, I get your mission and my own goals. They already line up with where you're headed. It shifts her whole status from just a job seeker to potentially a strategic partner.
Yeah, that immediately makes the interviewer see her as more invested, doesn't it?
Definitely.
So, okay, that covers alignment. Now let's dig into her internal drive. When she's asked about what motivates her at work, her answers aren't about comfort or just getting by.
No, they're consistently focused on contribution and evolution. Her internal drive is clearly rooted in measurable performance and this idea of continuous learning. She talks about being driven by achieving measurable goals, consistently learning new skills, and contributing tangibly to the success of my team and the company.
Tangibly, that's a good word.
It is, and she even adds that emotional driver, seeing the positive, quantifiable impact of my work. It paints this picture of someone who's proactive, results-focused, and it gets genuine satisfaction from actual outcomes.
And this commitment really comes through when she talks about her career goals for the next 5 years. There's a consistent theme there.
Yes, across all her responses, the theme is about seeking greater influence, moving towards a more strategic leadership role. Not just, a sideways move. We see her aiming to take on more leadership roles, maybe within the first couple of years. She talks about wanting to drive impactful projects that contribute significantly to the company's strategic goals and aspiring to take on higher leadership roles and drive strategic initiatives.
The psychological effect of that must be pretty significant for the interviewer.
Oh, huge. It tells the interviewer she's got ambition, yes, but ambition that directly benefits them. She's not someone who's going to coast. She plans to actively shape the business's future direction.
It really reframes the whole interview, doesn't it? From, can she do the job? To maybe, How quickly can we promote her?
Precisely. She's setting a high bar from the outset.
Okay, now we're moving into what I think is often the make or break section, behavioral questions.
Yeah.
This is where Mr. Tom moves past what Miss Mary knows and starts demanding proof of what she's actually done, especially, under pressure or when facing conflict.
Right. This is where the candidate, Miss Mary in this case, absolutely has to deploy something like the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. Even if she doesn't explicitly say, I'm using STAR now.
Which she probably should.
Exactly. But for you listening, the STAR method is, well, it's the gold standard because it forces the candidate away from hypothetical promises into providing a structured, evidence-based story. Every answer here needs to be a mini case study demonstrating competence.
So let's start with handling tight deadlines and pressure. We all face them. What's her approach? Is it just work harder?
Not at all. Her template for dealing with high pressure is very procedural, very disciplined. It starts with meticulous planning, then it moves to efficient prioritization of tasks, usually based on impact. Then clear communication with the team is vital, and finally, maintaining strict focus until it's done.
It sounds like a documented process, not just a panic scramble.
That's the difference, isn't it, between just surviving a tight deadline and actually mastering it?
And she provides a specific example, right?
Yes. She backs up the procedure with a concrete project. She talks about leading a team to revamp a critical CRM system, and the key detail, within a strict 3-month deadline. But she doesn't just mention the project, she immediately links it back to her actions, emphasizing the crucial role of meticulous, detailed planning and coordination. That's what allowed them to hit that non-negotiable deadline.
That focus on coordination is important. It shows she gets how complex projects work, the interdependencies.
Exactly. And managing unexpected challenges or crises, it follows that same kind of disciplined path. When faced with something unforeseen, which, let's face it, happens all the time in business,
Always.
the procedure is key. Stay calm, first step. Then quickly and accurately assess the situation. Then immediately devise a realistic plan. And finally, execute efficiently while maintaining transparent, open communication.
Okay, but stay calm. During a real crisis, like a major server outage or some PR nightmare that's incredibly hard, how does having a plan beforehand actually enable that?
Well, it's not just about telling yourself to be calm. It's cognitive preparation. By having a protocol ready, maybe a crisis communication plan, a pre-assigned IT contact, a defined communication chain, you essentially convert potential panic into following a procedure.
Ah, okay. You have steps to follow.
Right. And Miss Mary's specific crisis story illustrates this perfectly. She talks about coordinating instantly with IT during a system outage to get services back online quickly. But crucially, she also emphasizes effectively communicating with the affected clients and stakeholders throughout.
So the action isn't just fixing the tech problem.
No, it's also managing the external perception, maintaining those vital client relationships, basically protecting revenue during the disruption.
Got it. Okay, moving on to conflict and difficult decisions. These questions really reveal leadership character, don't they? How does Ms. Mary handle disagreements within a team without just laying down the law?
Her approach is framed as facilitative leadership, not command and control. She describes it as facilitating open communication, actively mediating disputes, really seeking to thoroughly understand and acknowledge different perspectives, and then working towards a mutually agreeable solution or compromise.
So she prioritizes team cohesion, psychological safety, but still pushes for a resolution.
Exactly. It's not about avoiding conflict. It's about resolving it productively.
Now let's talk about those two really insightful examples of tough decisions she faced. These seem to showcase strategic thinking, often needing to trade short-term comfort for long-term health.
They really do. The first one was choosing to cut ties with a non-performing vendor, even though they had a long-standing relationship. This is such a common corporate dilemma where politics or just sentimentality can sometimes override business logic.
How does she justify that?
She emphasizes it was a tough but necessary decision to ensure project success and maintain fiduciary responsibility. She frames it strategically.
But wait a minute, doesn't that risk making her sound, I don't know, a bit ruthless? Especially if the company values loyalty in long-term relationships. How does she navigate that?
That's a really sharp point. She mitigates that risk by framing the decision entirely within the context of project success and responsible resource allocation. The implication is clear. Continuing with that underperforming vendor would have jeopardized the entire team's effort and the company's investment. So the loyalty isn't necessarily to the vendor, it's shifted to the company's bottom line and the success of her own internal team.
Ah, okay, so it demonstrates fiscal discipline and strategic clarity over just personal comfort or history.
Precisely.
That makes sense. And the second example is equally strong, showing that organizational optimization mindset, killing a project that just wasn't hitting its goals.
Yes, terminating a project, even one started with enthusiasm because it wasn't meeting its agreed upon goals. And specifically, doing that to reallocate those valuable resources, time, money, people, to more promising initiatives with higher potential impact.
Both examples are powerful because they show she's willing to recognize and cut sunk costs.
Exactly. She prioritizes the company's overall strategic success and resource optimization, even when it involves making unpopular choices or implicitly admitting an earlier strategy might have been wrong. It shows she's a responsible steward of the company's resources.
Okay, the last piece of this behavioral section is about learning from setbacks. Humility, really. When asked about failure, she doesn't dodge. She brings up an unsuccessful marketing campaign.
Right, acknowledging failure is step one, but it can't stop there. Her strategic move is how she frames it. She treated the failure as data. She states she thoroughly analyzed the shortcomings, methodically identified the mistakes, learned critical lessons, and then, crucially, immediately applied those lessons to subsequent future projects.
So it's reframing failure as a learning cycle, demonstrating resilience in that analytical mindset.
Exactly.
And this connects pretty smoothly to how she says she handles feedback or constructive criticism, whether it's from a boss or even a peer.
Yeah, she explicitly states she views feedback not as a personal judgment, but as an opportunity for professional growth and measurable improvement. Her go-to action is to strive to implement suggestions constructively and accept critique with an open mind. Taken together, this whole behavioral section really solidifies her image. She comes across as self-aware, resilient, data-driven, and focused on continuous evolution. That's exactly the profile high-growth companies are usually looking for.
All right, let's shift gears now. We've seen how she handles the high-stakes, often reactive situations like crises and tough decisions. Now let's look at the proactive side, day-to-day operational excellence. How does Miss Mary demonstrate she can maximize efficiency and actually innovate in her regular workflow?
Well, her approach to organization and prioritization is highly systematized. That alone signals professionalism and predictability right off the bat. She explicitly mentions relying on a combination of sophisticated digital tools. She name drops things like Trello or Asana for task management, maybe Gantt charts for visualizing complex timelines and dependencies.
Okay, hold on. For listeners who might know basic project management but maybe not those specific tools, why is it so strategic to mention Trello, Asana, or Gantt charts by name?
Good question. It's basically shorthand for showing methodological alignment. Mentioning Trello or Asana, that immediately signals she's comfortable with agile or semi-agile workflows. It proves she doesn't just rely on, generic email chains or personal spreadsheets. She understands collaborative, dynamic task management.
Right.
And mentioning Gantt charts, that's even more specific. It demonstrates a grasp of resource allocation, task sequencing, critical path analysis, timeline visualization skills that are absolutely critical in almost any senior role involving project oversight.
So it's instant credibility through implied technical skill.
Exactly. Plus, she doesn't just rely on tools. She also mentions maintaining detailed schedules and setting clear, granular goals. It's a whole system.
And her logic for prioritizing tasks. That seems really where this strategic thinking comes in. It's not just about which task is loudest or biggest.
No, definitely not. Her hierarchy is crystal clear, and it's outcome-driven. Tasks get prioritized based on, first, urgency, then impact like potential revenue gain or risk mitigation, then project importance, alignment with the company's overall strategic goals, non-negotiable deadlines, and finally, any team dependencies.
So she's optimizing every hour for strategic outcomes, not just ticking boxes.
That's the idea. And when it comes to managing multitasking, which is inevitable, she stresses using specific time management tools and techniques precisely to ensure she can effectively juggle multiple complex tasks without compromising the quality of the output. Quality is always the final check on her efficiency.
And this strategic focus, it leads directly into the real proof points of this section.
Yeah.
Those quantified efficiency gains. The two examples she gives are like absolute gold.
They are textbook examples because they detail actual process innovation, not just, I worked really hard. First, she talks about streamlining a comprehensive reporting system. The result, A massive reduction in time spent on manual data entry by 50%. We really need to pause and think about what that number actually means for a business.
50%. I mean, that's staggering. It suggests if someone or a team spent, say, 10 hours a week just manually crunching numbers for reports, she cut that down to 5 hours. Over a year, that's hundreds of hours freed up.
Precisely, hundreds of hours that can now be spent on higher value strategic work instead of tedious data entry. And think about how she achieved that 50%. It wasn't magic. She had to meticulously analyze the entire existing manual process, pinpoint all the bottlenecks and redundancies, and then implement changes, maybe standardizing templates, maybe introducing some light automation. It's a systemic improvement.
Right. It shows analytical skill and execution.
And then her second example reinforces this. She talks about implementing automation tools to streamline reporting even further, reducing time spent on manual tasks by 40%. It shows a consistent commitment to leveraging technology for efficiency gains. These aren't just minor tweaks, they're foundational process transformations she led.
Those kinds of numbers, 50%, 40%, that's the language executives understand. It shows she's not just doing tasks, she's actively reducing operational costs.
Exactly, she's demonstrating ROI.
But performing at that level consistently requires staying sharp, continuous learning. What's your strategy there? Is it just reading articles occasionally?
No, her learning strategy is presented as very active and multi-pronged. It's not passive consumption. She talks about regularly attending targeted webinars, industry conferences, and practical workshops. She reads key industry publications to stay current on best practices, and she actively participates in professional networks.
So she's essentially running her own continuous professional development program alongside her job.
Pretty much. She also mentions taking online courses to upskill proactively.
Okay, but what about when something urgent pops up? Like a new project suddenly requires her to learn totally new software, say, in just 2 weeks. How does she handle that reactive learning?
Her approach there is described as immediate mobilization. She leverages, first, curiosity and dedication. Then she'll enroll in relevant online courses or maybe seek out micro-certifications. Critically, she also mentions seeking mentorship either from internal experts already using the software or through her external professional groups. And she uses focused tutorials for rapid, practical application.
So she proves she can acquire and deploy new technical skills on demand under pressure.
Exactly, which is a huge asset.
Okay, let's try to synthesize the key strengths she's highlighting here.
Yeah.
Beyond the foundational skills like project management, she emphasizes one unique capability that feels incredibly valuable for today's companies.
Yeah, she lists high-value skills like her analytical depth, her proven proficiency in various project management methodologies, her strategic thinking. But the unique strength, the one that probably makes Mr. Tom really lean in, is her demonstrated ability to bridge the communication gap between technical and non-technical teams.
Ah, the translator role. That is often a massive friction point in organizations, isn't it? Why is that single skill so valuable?
Because in almost any company, you have silos. You've got the engineering or IT folks speaking in highly specialized jargon. And then you've got, say, the sales or marketing teams talking in terms of revenue, customer experience, brand impact.
And they often talk past each other.
Completely. Miscommunication between these groups. It leads to project delays, mismatched expectations, wasted resources, even internal conflict. So when Miss Mary claims she can be that essential translator, taking complex technical requirements and articulating them to the business side in terms of budget impact and strategic goals, and doing the reverse, too, that's huge.
It minimizes that internal friction and just speeds everything up. Decision-making, execution.
Absolutely. That one skill alone could justify a premium hire in many roles.
Wow, okay. And then finally, wrapping up this section on operational excellence, she provides those quantified success highlights. These feel like the ultimate summary of her impact.
They are. They're her closing arguments for this section, the ultimate proof points. Leading a product launch that resulted in a 25% increase in sales within the first quarter. Managing a social media campaign that boosted online engagement by 40% and significantly raised brand awareness. Leading a new CRM system implementation that resulted in a 20% increase in customer satisfaction.
Again, not vague claims.
No. These are direct financial wins, brand equity gains, and operational improvements, all explicitly tied back to her leadership and actions. It's showing, not just telling, her value.
All right, let's pivot again. We've established Ms. Mary's operational prowess, her ability to handle crises. Now, the focus shifts to the interpersonal side. The interviewer needs to know, can she lead? Can she inspire, motivate, manage relationships effectively? So the question comes, what's her leadership philosophy?
Her definition of a good leader, as she presents it, is very explicitly supportive and vision-driven. She says a good leader is someone who inspires confidence, actively supports and guides their team, while always maintaining a crystal clear vision and transparent communication.
The words support and guide seem intentionally chosen over, say, direct or command.
Absolutely. It signals an empowering leadership style right away, rather than a purely top-down approach.
And her strategies seem to reflect that empowerment model too.
Yes. She talks about focusing on setting clear, often collaborative goals, making sure achievements are publicly recognized. That's important for morale, and intentionally cultivating a positive and supportive work environment. She mentions believing in empowering her team by providing the resources they need, offering coaching or mentorship, and encouraging their continuous learning.
So it's about enabling the team, not just managing tasks.
Precisely. And she backs this philosophy up with a high-level example of demonstrated leadership. She specifically mentions leading a cross-functional team that's key to successfully launch a new product. And she highlights the complexity, coordinating between different departments like R&D, marketing, sales, all while managing those inevitable tight deadlines. It proves she can command respect and deliver results across different parts of the organization, not just within her own silo.
Okay, so drilling down into ensuring team success. Her strategy sounds quite systematic again.
It is. It starts with setting those clear objectives, what the team needs to achieve, then providing the necessary resources, how they can achieve it, and finally fostering that supportive, motivating environment, the why they should be engaged and strive for excellence.
And it sounds like she's up to date on modern work challenges too, like remote teams.
Yes, that's a really important point of contemporary business acumen she demonstrates. When she discusses effective communication, especially in diverse teams, she actually details different protocols for when people are in the office versus working remotely. She talks about the necessity of regular focused meetings, yes, but also actively encouraging open, maybe even unfiltered dialogue, using collaborative digital tools, obviously, to keep everyone aligned. But specifically for remote teams, she emphasizes using video conferencing to maintain that personal connection and setting absolutely crystal clear expectations around availability, response times, and deliverables.
That clarity is crucial for remote work.
Essential. You can't rely on just bumping into someone in the hallway.
Now, managing diverse skill sets within a team, that can be a real balancing act. How does she approach optimizing the different talents she might have on her team?
Her approach sounds like optimization through smart allocation. She focuses on leveraging each team member's unique, specific strengths rather than trying to force everyone into the same mold. This is then paired with ensuring clear communication channels are open between team members, not just from her down, and, crucially, providing tailored opportunities for skill development based on individual needs and aspirations, not just team requirements.
So it's talent management focused on maximizing individual potential, which then benefits the team.
Exactly. Rather than minimizing differences, she leverages them.
Okay, now for maybe the toughest scenario in team leadership,
Well,
dealing with underperforming team members. The way a manager handles this really shows their character, doesn't it? Are they a motivator or just an executioner?
it really does. And her described approach is, well, it's supportive, but it's also highly structured and direct, not wishy-washy. First, she says she addresses issues promptly. That's key, prevents small problems festering and growing. Second, she provides consistent, constructive feedback that's specific to behavior, not personality. Third, she offers targeted support or training to help them improve. And critically, if needed, she mentions setting formal improvement plans, PIPs. This step transforms what could be seen as just a negative disciplinary track into a structured, time-bound opportunity for development.
Right, it gives the person a clear path and expectations.
Exactly. It demonstrates fairness and a commitment to trying to invest in the employee's success, provided, of course, that the employee commits to the improvement plan.
Okay, one last piece in this section. Looking outward. Her approach to external relationships, particularly managing clients, how does she frame that?
Her client relationship approach is built on a foundation of building strong, reliable connections. How? Through consistent, scheduled communication, not just waiting for problems. Through meticulously understanding their evolving needs, being proactive, and through delivering consistent, demonstrable value, making herself indispensable.
So it's trust built through reliability and results, not just schmoozing.
That's the impression she gives. It's professional partnership.
And she even includes that anecdote showing she understands sometimes you just have to go the extra mile, right?
Yes, that specific story about working extra hours, clearly necessary hours to resolve a critical, time-sensitive issue for a key client, making sure their operations weren't disrupted, and, importantly, that they felt fully supported and satisfied afterwards.
That's the ultimate proof of partnership, isn't it?
It really is. It shows a willingness to prioritize the client's continuity and long-term revenue health, even if it means some personal sacrifice in the short term. That builds tremendous loyalty.
Okay, we've arrived at the end game. Mr. Tom throws out that all-important final synthesis question. So why should we hire you? This is Miss Mary's last chance, really, to condense everything, all the evidence from the last 45 minutes or however long it's been, into one powerful, concise pitch.
Yeah, and her final pitch is exactly that, a concise, high-value restatement. She doesn't introduce new information. She synthesizes her diverse experience, those quantified skills we talked about, and her demonstrated passion for the role and the company. She emphasizes that this combination makes her a great immediate fit. And crucially, she frames herself as a contributor who will help drive your company forward and achieve your strategic objectives. The focus, right to the end, remains entirely on the measurable benefit she brings to them.
It's all about their needs. But then, arguably the most strategic, maybe even insightful move of the entire interview happens next. When Mr. Tom asks, "Do you have any questions for me?" Ms. Mary consistently uses this moment for more than just gathering basic info.
Oh, absolutely. These are not throwaway questions like, when will I hear back? They are highly strategic inquiries. They're designed to signal her immediate focus is already on high-level operational and strategic concerns. It subtly reinforces her suitability for the role.
What kind of questions does she ask?
Well, she immediately asks about team dynamics. The specific structure, who she would be reporting to, who she'd be working closely with. This signals she's already thinking about collaboration, fitting in, and maybe even assessing the internal political landscape or support systems.
That's smart.
What else? She asks about current projects, yes, but also anticipated future projects or challenges the team is facing. This shows she's not just thinking about day one, she's thinking strategically about the workload and the direction of the department or company. She's ready to hit the ground running on forward-looking issues.
And she also consistently asks about professional development opportunities, right? How the company supports employee growth.
Yes, that's another key one. It signals to Mr. Tom that she sees herself potentially staying long-term. She's interested in evolving within their company structure, which helps minimize the perceived flight risk for the interviewer. She's signaling commitment.
Okay, and you mentioned two other really detailed questions that show her results focus.
Right. These are particularly telling. She asks about the specific key performance indicators, the KPIs for the position, and she asks about how the company actively fosters teamwork and supports employee well-being.
Let's just pause on KPIs for a second. Asking about KPIs feels like a really powerful move. What exactly does that tell the interviewer about her? And maybe give an example of what KPIs might a project manager ask about.
Asking about KPIs, the key performance indicators, it instantly shows three crucial things about the candidate. First, she's results-oriented and she welcomes accountability. She's not afraid of being measured. Second, she understands that success in a business context is measurable. It's not just subjective feeling. Third, and maybe most importantly, she wants to understand the exact metrics for success in this specific role before she even starts. This minimizes ambiguity and potential friction during onboarding.
So she wants to know precisely how she'll be judged.
Exactly. And for a project manager, relevant KPIs they might ask about could be things like on-time project delivery rate, budget adherence percentage, maybe stakeholder satisfaction scores based on surveys, or even resource utilization efficiency.
By asking, she's almost forcing the interviewer to articulate a clear definition of success for that role.
Precisely. And it communicates subtly that she's already mentally strategizing how she's going to achieve those specific metrics. She's basically started the job in her head. Hashtag tag outro.
Well, I think we've pretty thoroughly mapped out this professional interview landscape, haven't we? From that initial, tell me about yourself, right through to those crucial tactical closing questions.
Yeah.
And the focus has really been on the strategic deployment of quantified data, those behavioral examples, basically providing a direct route to mastering these critical career conversations. Useful, whether you're a native speaker or specifically working on your business English fluency.
Absolutely. I think the core takeaway for you, the listener, is this: a successful interview. It's less about finding some magical right answer and exponentially more about consistently structuring your responses. You need to link your past measurable achievements. Remember those quantified results like the 50% efficiency boost or the 25% sales increase we talked about.
Hmm.
You link those directly and explicitly to the company's future needs and its financial health. You have to prove, using concrete evidence, that hiring you is a reliable way to generate positive organizational ROI, return on investment.
Prove you're an asset, not an expense.
That's it in a nutshell.
Absolutely. So as you get ready for your next high-stakes interview, maybe mull this over, we want to leave you with one final thought, really building on Miss Mary's technique. Consider the profound psychological effect of those detailed, forward-looking questions she saves for the very end. By asking specifically about team dynamics, about KPIs, about professional development paths, what assumption does the candidate subtly compel the interviewer to make about her candidacy? Think about that.